Beethoven created, in a sense, the Romantic era, because after Beethoven, especially after the Third Symphony of Beethoven, music was never the same. He was the kind of blinding light that changed music. So it's important to understand what he was coming from. So one foot was in the classical era, one foot was trying to be romantic. And in his symphonies, we have this slow progression from classic to romantic. My approach to Beethoven is not as a kind of easy listening type of composer. So there will be violence in the music, there'll be noise, there'll be anger, but there'll also be a kind of, how should I say, ethos that has to do with, freshness and revolutionary qualities. It's very important to know from the sources what he actually wrote and what was not changed. In other words, composers, conductors changed over the years how Beethoven was performed. And I must say that composers like Mendelssohn, Weber, Wagner conducted Beethoven in their own style, as did Berlioz, for instance. So they were composers, they thought all music should sound like their music. So they began to change Beethoven and change Beethoven performance. And certainly Wagner changed it a great deal. In other words, what used to be very clipped and short became smooth and rich and full according to the way that he wanted it. So it's important to know, and the Jonathan Del Mar's edition shows you exactly what he wrote and what he didn't write. My approach, for instance, to the Eroica Symphony is I take the metronome marks as gospel. I take the latest scholarship as gospel. I take short phrasing. I take stopped horns. I take minimal vibrato. All of these things as gospel. And this changes the music. The three contemporary works are very varied and very different. One is a piece by Hartmann called Concerto Funebre, and that will come between the First and the Third Symphonies. And of course, there's a very famous funeral march in the Third Symphony of Beethoven. The Stravinsky Capriccio comes between another one, and that is like, how should I say, when you take a sherbet and you eat it in between courses of a meal. It creates a kind of sizzle in your palate. And the other one is the Barber Cello Concerto, which of course is a very kind of semi-romantic work and will go very nicely between those other two Beethoven symphonies that it goes with. But I think it's a good way of refreshing people's ears. If I just played 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9, you need something that sheds another light. And perhaps Stravinsky is another prism through which to look at Beethoven, or Barber is another prism, or Hartmann is. So I would say that Beethoven, by being a revolutionary and being a kind of man apart as a personality, remained modern all his life. And we can still listen to it with the ears that we've heard Berg and Schoenberg and Webern and Ligeti and Kurtag, and listen and we hear the echoes of Beethoven in that music.